Hello, and welcome back to another video about our favourite country, Great Britain. Before we start, I want to make this very clear. This is not a political video. As much as there is to hate about the state of UK politics right now, it is in fact possible to talk about a country without bringing up politics. So let's just have a bit of fun complaining about first world problems, alright? So sit back, relax, put the kettle on, and let me tell you some things that are not so great about Britain. Public transport. This one's interesting because in some places it's really good. Like London, for example. The tube is great. You can get all across the city, it's not too expensive, and I've never had any issues with lateness and delays as I've used it. It can get ridiculously crowded, which is an absolute nightmare, but off-peak it's pretty good. Meanwhile, in the city that I grew up in... Okay, so I lived in this little village, which was fine when I went to primary and high school because those were within walking distance. When I went to college, however, I had to take multiple buses, and from my village there was, and still is, only one bus to the city centre. And it would show up every half an hour. Except in the morning. The really stupid thing was, the first bus came at 6:30 in the morning, but for some reason there wasn't a 7 o'clock bus. The next one after that was at 7:30. I had to be at college by 8:45, and with the morning traffic, the 7:30 bus wouldn't get me there on time. So guess who had to get up at 6 AM and be at college an hour early just so they wouldn't be late? Another great thing about that bus is that it stopped at 6 PM. So if you arrived at the bus station after 6 PM, you're kinda screwed. Which happened to me quite a lot after particularly long days of college. I would have to take a different bus that would drive sort of close to where I lived and walk for half an hour the rest of the way home. And you can imagine how draining it was arriving home at 8 PM. So yeah, you can't stay out too long if you don't want to walk home or pay for a taxi, which is really annoying to deal with when I'm visiting my friends and family back in England. I feel like a little kid who has to be home before the sun sets. Although, I don't know if I really need to stay out that long because... the shops close way too early. This is shops like clothing stores, electronic stores, and stuff like that. Supermarkets are great. Most of them are open 24 hours a day, which is freaking awesome. But other stores like to close at 6 PM. Which really sucks if you, like most people, have to go to work, college, or university, which, even if you're lucky and finish at 4, plus the time it takes to travel there with the amazing public transport, they're closing already. And people wonder why everyone shops online these days. Houses are too small and too close together. This got really noticeable since I've been living in Germany. Here, the buildings are modern and properly thought out as they've been built because, you know, the old ones kinda got blown up. Which unfortunately means that Germany has lost a lot of its historical architecture, but at least it was able to rebuild better and more efficiently. Unlike the UK, which still has a lot of ridiculously old buildings that have a lot of problems. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that we should bomb the UK. Fixing hundreds of houses that people are still living in is a complicated process. I don't claim to have any solutions for any of the things on this list. I just want to make a silly video complaining about things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, houses in the UK are way too small, way too close together, and they all look the same. So be careful if you're going anywhere outside the city centre, cause you're probably gonna get lost. The roads are bad too. Adding to the theme of things people built many years ago that don't hold up anymore, the roads in the UK are absolutely awful. Not only are they way too narrow, but they break extremely easy, leading to huge potholes that will absolutely destroy your car's suspension. With the amount of money they spend repairing potholes every year, they could probably afford to replace the roads entirely. Litter. Litter is a pretty big problem in a lot of places in the UK, particularly in my city. A few years ago, they renovated a lot of the city centre, put down nice new roads and pavements, places for people to sit, stuff like that. After 2 weeks, it was all covered in chewing gum. Now there's these gross white blobs all over the floor, and I don't know if the city didn't bother cleaning them up, or tried and it didn't work, because they just keep accumulating. And eventually you're not even going to be able to see the proper floor anymore. I just don't get these people who feel the need to ruin it for everyone else by throwing their rubbish everywhere. This is why we can't have nice things. So if you've been watching this video as a fellow Brit, you may have thought once or twice, wait, I've never had that problem. Well, the thing is, I can only really tell you about my experience in the area where I grew up, and I've honestly barely ever travelled outside of that area, so I don't claim to speak for the entire country with this list. In fact, I'd like to know, whether you live in Britain or have just been there for a visit, what would your list be? I'm interested in how different or similar the things that you don't like about Britain are to mine. And if it wasn't obvious already, I don't hate Britain. In fact, last time I made this video about things I love about Britain. So there. If you enjoyed this video, you should check out the series I did about Germany, which is the country that I live in right now. You might find it interesting. So that's all for now. Please don't be too harsh on me in the comments, and have a great whatever day it is for you right now.